What's happening, people? Welcome to another video, and I want to talk about Arsenal as always, people, and Arsenal's position in relation to the Premier League and our ambitions, our goals, how are our rivals looking, all of these factors as we enter into the international break, which will precede the final 10-11 matches of the Premier League season. And we're just entering into crunch time. It really does feel like that, people. So Arsenal won their most recent match 4-1 against Crystal Palace. And I think it was a very impressive performance from Arsenal. Crystal Palace had their moments, especially in that first 20-25 minutes. I thought they were creating opportunities and taking advantage of some spaces that Arsenal left, primarily due to their aggressive attacking approach. And I've noticed this with Arsenal in matches in 2023 especially. They often risk leaving gaps and space in behind, but that's a byproduct of the style of play that they adopt. So this very attacking style where defenders come into midfield, where 2 or 3 players will assemble on the right hand side to try and find a little opening. They press very strongly the opponent's defence when they have the ball. The attackers really press high. So occasionally Arsenal will leave gaps in behind, and we did see this in the first 20-25 minutes. Crystal Palace had a couple of opportunities. Zaha hit the post and Edouard got in behind, but the shot was well saved by Ramsdale. However, once Arsenal scored, a lovely goal worked from the right hand side. Saka plays to Martinelli. Martinelli goes on the outside, drills the finish with his left foot. Very impressive. Arsenal were able to assert a level of dominance, a level of control. Added a second goal in that second half through Saka. So Saka was played in, I believe, by Ben White. And this was a feature, people, of the game, was the interplay between Saka and Ben White. So Saka playing on the right of midfield and Ben White at right back, and the way they combined, Ben White would overlap sometimes. Ben White would sometimes sit deep and give Saka the opportunity to pass square to him and then go beyond himself, and then Ben White would pick Saka out. Saka would get to the byline, put crosses in. So they were interchanging between who would sit and who would move forward, and it was just really well drilled, and you can just tell that Arteta has really coached them so well, because we're seeing such fluid interplays between the players, not only on the right hand side but all over the pitch. So that was mightily impressive, people. And then Arsenal added a third goal. So Trossard plays in Granit Xhaka and he finds the net, his second goal in 2 matches. And then the fourth goal was completed, again, Saka scoring, a lovely finish from just outside the box, just inside the box, about 18 yards out. Kieran Tierney playing the pass. And yeah, I think with Arsenal, people, it is just what we needed. We needed that statement of intent, that response after going out of the Europa League in midweek, and the boys delivered. And it bodes well, I feel, people, for the remaining 10 matches, because I think many critics, many Arsenal detractors have, is this feeling that the wheels may still come off. It's still a young team, they're unproven, they're still finding their way, and they're testing themselves at the pointy end against one of the best teams in Premier League history, Manchester City, who have won 4 of the last 5 Premier League titles. So that is the recurring question. Can Arsenal last the course? And from my point of view, people, I have not seen any evidence to suggest that they won't, because they had that little blip in February time where they lost to Everton, drew to Brentford, lost to Man City in the league, and there was also an FA Cup exit to Man City in there as well. And I just feel Arsenal have weathered the storm so well since then. They've won 6 in a row, they've shown an ability to come back, they've shown an ability to find a last minute winner, they've shown ability to keep clean sheets and also be consistent, to control matches, to find openings, to create goal-scoring moments. So we're seeing people pretty much the complete attacking performance from Arsenal that suggests they're going to continue to score enough goals to get them wins. The defence, of course, Arteta will be doubling down on the importance of solidity, of positionally being aware, of snuffing out the threats from the opponents. But you feel like Arteta's constantly aware of what needs to be done. He's not leaving any stone unturned. And this is something I'm so impressed, again, people with Arteta. I bang on about it every single time, but I'm going to keep doing it. It's just how impressive he is as an operator, as a manager. And I love, one thing that strikes me so much, and especially when you compare him to other managers, is this sense that Arteta strikes the right balance between being a manager of principle and a manager of expectation, that you need to perform for him. He has high standards, but he's also, he cares about his players. You sense there's compassion with Mikel. And when you dovetail both of them, it's like, as a player, if I'm playing for Arteta, I can imagine myself thinking, I don't want to let this guy down. He has high standards. He expects me to do this. And he's very meticulous in outlining the exact tasks and role I need to perform. So as a player, I'd be thinking, I've got to do this for Mikel. Mikel has these expectations and I don't want to fall short. I want to appease and I want to make him feel like I care for the shirt, like I demand his respect and that I want to earn his respect. But also, he's not the kind of manager, I don't feel, who has any sort of ego that he's almost trying to set you up to fail. Like I feel with some other managers, if they sense that a player isn't giving them what they want, or somehow there's been a bit of a rift or a tension, disagreement between the two, they would somehow set them up to, without really buying in and believing and wanting them to do well. So I think of maybe Antonio Conte with maybe Richarlison. So Richarlison criticised his tactics by not starting him or bringing him on or whatever in a European match against Milan. And he starts Richarlison in the next two games, but I'm almost thinking in the back of my mind, I feel Conte might be doing this to prove a point, saying I've given you a chance and you've still not taken it. With Arteta, I feel like he's never got that mindset of his own ego, of being like, oh, I was right. Like, I've not been picking you because I know better. With Arteta, I feel like it's a lot more of a love that he gives his players, an unconditional backing, that he wants them to do well at all times. And when he brings them off, when he substitutes them off, you can see him embracing with them at that moment. And you could tell Trossard was a bit aggrieved about being taken off at the weekend, but Mikel was around him straight away. He wasn't saying, oh, stuff you. It was like, Leo, come on, I'm taking you off this time, buddy, but you're still in my plans. I still believe in you. I still think you're fantastic. So you feel with Arteta, he's reading the need to constantly reaffirm or reinforce encouragement to his players. He's always reinforcing the encouragement, the pats on the back, those little things. He's not being distant or aloof with his players. He's always engaging with them and relating to them. And it's these interpersonal relationships that make the difference, because a manager that believes in you, a manager that's always encouraging and giving you the pats on the back and telling you what you need to improve, but doing it in a way that says, I know you can do this. I believe you can get here, but I want you to get here, and you still need to get here, but you've got what it takes to get here. That's what I feel Arteta is great at as a manager, is that he doesn't see people who are falling short of his standards as lost causes or people who somehow are not good enough to play in a Mikel Arteta team. No, it's the complete opposite. He's like, I see something in you that you can contribute to us. You're a big part of my plans, but we have standards and you still need to improve and work towards it. And that is something I see in Arteta. I'm not on the training ground, but I see it in how he relates to people, how he speaks in press conferences. It's all about saying it's a process and this trusting in the process, but you feel like every player has a process. He's like, yeah, player X, Y, or Z, we're so happy with how they're going, but of course they need to keep doing it, and this is the part of the repetitious practices we're trying to get the players to do. Because he was asked about Martinelli and Saka, how do you keep these guys grounded? How do you keep them motivated? And he essentially said, by instilling positive practices every day, by eating the right things, by looking after your body in the right way, by training hard and just doing these simple things, but again and again, and minimizing distractions and having the right environment around you. And you sense this is Arteta. He's seeing the big picture. He's seeing the importance of processes, of repeating these practices. And he's a live wire in press conferences. I absolutely love him, how he interacts with the media. I've said this before, people, but I want to keep reiterating it. I like the fact that he's not self-deprecating too much. And I like the fact that he's not turning things into a joke or looking for a headline in what he says. He's not using the media as an opportunity to make statements, to make these big patting myself on the back type things. He's not doing that. What he's using the media for is to, I think, reverse a potential media-fueled narrative. So the media trying to get Arteta to, not coerce Arteta into colluding with their angle on the situation, but I feel like what Arteta is doing, he's maybe sensing the media has a story they want to run with, but Arteta is not actually feeding that. He's sometimes putting a stop to it and saying, no, I'm not going in your direction with that news story. I'm going to stick with my message that I want to send out, and he doesn't yield from that. And something people I really notice about Arteta in that sense, whether he's talking about the injuries, whether he's talking about fixture congestion, whether he's talking about anything another manager might say, you'll very rarely find Arteta take the bait. He'll always take a step back and diffuse the situation, which I really like. I really respect as well, and I think he's setting the right tone. So onwards and upwards, people. Onwards and upwards for the Gunners, and let's see how things go, people. Obviously, there are some tricky fixtures on the other side of the international break. Manchester City away from home is a key one, but there are a couple of other difficult away matches, Liverpool and Newcastle in there as well. But honestly, people, with how Arsenal are playing, how positive and front foot their approach has been, I don't see any reason to doubt the Gunners at this point, because we're absolutely firing on all cylinders. I think the injury to Tomiyasu and also William Saliba is a little bit concerning, because it means we only have really one right back now, Ben White, and if Ben White were to get injured, then it would feel a little tricky. But you know what, people, even then, I have faith in Mikel to find solutions, and whether that's Thomas Partey playing right back, whether that's Kieran Tierney playing as an inverted right back, whether that's Rob Holding, putting him at right back, because Rob Holding played really well against Crystal Palace. But obviously that's a problem that hasn't materialised yet, because Ben White is still fit, so we'll see how things go. But wow, 8 points clear, people, in the ascendancy. Let's hope Arsenal can finish the job this season. And yeah, wouldn't it just be fantastic, people, if Arsenal could go all the way and win this thing? Yeah. Anyway, people, at the moment, the dream is still alive. Long may it continue. All right, guys, have a good day. Peace, love.